we were texting back and forth before we came on, and I was telling you I was on my way home. So I was in the car, and in where I live, of course, there's not a lot of good talk radio. So I was listening to our old friend Hannity
Oh
on the way
no.
on the way home, and of course, you may have heard that the inflation rate is now up to 7%, and
Yep.
so they're ranting and raving about it, and all these people, and a lot of people are not going to be thrilled with me saying this, but they're all heaping all this problem on top of Biden. And all I want to say is Biden is only contributing to it. This has been a problem for at least 2 or 3 decades, and all this spending. I'm old enough to remember when Alan Greenspan just opened up the spigot back during the George Bush administration, and um, you can actually look at some of the numbers, and uh, Biden increased the national debt so far this year by 1.5 trillion. Okay, and that's not good, right? That's kind of how it that's kind of how it's been going for a number of years now. Donald Trump's 4 years, he increased the debt by almost 7 trillion. Nobody
Yeah.
talks about that. That's
Yeah, but
huge.
I mean, obviously, most of that happened at the very end with the COVID stuff, 3 or 4 or 5 trillion or whatever that turned. So that's why they get a
Right, right,
pass. But reality is,
exactly.
you're absolutely right. I didn't end up in this position where I'm talking to you like this because the bailout was one of the big turning points for me. Because it's not only uh, was it the bailout of the banks and why are we bailing out people and not letting them go through bankruptcy? It's the fact that we were basically spending that legislative move alone was I think 700 to 800 billion dollars up front. Obviously, it's more than that over time, and then they followed that up with more bailouts and more money. That was my big trigger. Like, okay, I'm out because now you've got Republicans who claim they're fiscally conservative. They claim they're this, they're claim they're that. Oh no, we're just going to throw massive amounts of money. And then, of course, as I've said many, many times, Obama took the worst of Bush when it came to spending. He just kept making it worse. It wasn't as though it ever tide turned. And really, be honest, before the pandemic, Trump didn't either. He spent more money than Obama did. It just kept going up and up and up.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's how their budget works. They don't even have a budget anymore. They just do what's called continuing resolution, where they keep spending more money than they did last time.
yeah. And with Bush, I mean, of the most recent presidents, in his tenure as president, he increased the debt the most as a percentage. It was over
Correct.
100% increase. As
Yeah.
even Obama didn't do that. So
Right.
I guess all I'm asking is, I mean, I would love to see somebody on Fox News at least be honest about this. This has been going on for a while. I mean, Joe Biden is not helping matters. There's no, and don't get me wrong, he's only making things worse, and he wants to make it even worse with additional spending and additional debt. But this has been going on a while, and I don't see people being honest about this on cable news. And I took a survey the other day on YouTube. You know how you can put up like I don't know, just put up like this link without a video. It can just be like a poll or whatever.
Sure.
Yeah. And it was, what's causing the most damage in this country. And fortunately, one of the selections was, cable news and the media. And
Mm.
that's the one I selected. And I really believe that there's just no honesty in anything. And then you have people that are just going to watch their channel, and that's all they're going to know. So anybody that is very pro-Trump probably has no idea that he racked up almost $7 trillion in debt in 4 years.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think
Yeah.
that the media is very complicit. Um, I always go back to Tim Pool. He was very detail oriented when he was trying to talk about the downfall of like Vice and these far left websites who basically sold their soul out for clips and how to make ad revenue money and then how to placate to the audience. Like we can't run certain stories that upset our audience. And what I don't think Tim got at the time, I don't know if he's there now or not. I don't really watch his show much anymore, but for me, it was like, well, that's how it's all been running. Like that's why Fox is the way they are. It's why CNN's the way they are. it's definitely why MSNBC, who led the way there, they and Fox, because they just continue to get further and further away, where we're not going to do anything that would upset our audience. So to get honesty, if a guest were to go on Fox and say the things that we are saying and discussing right now, we would never get invited back. It might get through if it were live, but there's no way we'd be invited back. And I've heard libertarians talk about it. Dave Smith talked about some of his, interesting experiences over the years being on, I think, CNN's SE Cup show, different things. And you're like, oh, yeah, they're not going to invite you back. At some point, there's an expiration date on how much time they'll let you spew this stuff that would be angering their audience, basically.
Yeah, I've seen that quite a bit. I first got introduced to Glenn Greenwald on MSNBC years ago. He's never invited.
Oh, there's no way they're having any part of that guy.
Fox Business Peter Schiff used to be a regular on there. Don't ever see him anymore.
He's treated like a crazy person, like both right and left kind of treat. He's in like that sort of like Rogan, you just don't belong in the club sort of category. Like they don't know what to do with Peter Schiff.
Well, I'll tell you what, if anybody's interested, watch the 2 or 3 long interviews on Joe Rogan with Peter Schiff. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, those are good examples. And I think this is where, whenever the earth keeps turning, the clock keeps running, and people will eventually wake up and realize, well, how on earth did we end up at 25, 27, $30 trillion in debt? And some of these things I think will eventually kind of come to the surface. But I just don't know that there's any sort of end in sight right now of people wanting to go through the heartache. And I don't even know how you could do it. You talk about how would we even forget about just the interest rate? How could we get rid of trillions of dollars in excess, physical cash in the system? I know a lot of it's digital, but how do we even do that? Do you just create a policy where you're like, well, instead of destroying it and printing and replacing it, we just stop doing that? We just
stop doing it.
Every month is $100 billion. You cut your spending, so we go back. I would say, can't we go back to like the Bush years moved it, but Obama took it to a $4 trillion budget. That was spending. So can we just go back to the Obama budget? Can we just go back to $4 trillion? And then all the rest of there's no way they'll do that.
No, there's no way. Anything that's going to be quote unquote responsible and try to get us back to where we should be is going to cause a lot of pain.
Yes.
There's going to be tons of pain, a lot of unhappy people, and no politician is going to want unhappy constituents.
Yeah, the trillions and trillions of dollars of debt hanging out there, and it's just shocking. And I know we talk about inflation, but as far as I know, and maybe you can understand, the inflation number changed. I think it even predates Bush, but it doesn't really count food and fuel and stuff the way it used to, right? Because they talk about it being the worst it's been since like 82, but I think it's significantly worse than that because it doesn't really take into account some of those other metrics that it used to, correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I can't remember when that was. That was 25 years ago. And the Fed just stopped reporting that as an indicator and made them look good for a little while, but it always catches up to you.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody today at work talking about, just our experiences, moving, building a farm and spending money on, a 16-foot pig panel was $16 and change when we moved, and now a year later it's like $33. There's a gas station up near us where they went out of business about the time of the election, and the gas on the sign says $2.21. I went to go get gas, and I got regular gas, but there was premium gas. It was $3.83 a gallon. Each little step, each little increment of that's just putting more cost into the system for all of us. It's why your pork costs more. It's why your meat costs more. You got to drive it places, so all your goods are going to cost more. And it's just like, I don't know how you reverse some of that beyond that, because that's just to kind of get us back to where we even were. But reality is, you start doing what we're talking about, where you actually cut spending. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I remember. I don't see it happening. So
yeah,
I mean, we may be forced to at some point.
Yeah.
But that just it's not. I don't think it's going to happen voluntarily.
Yeah. That was a rough, sort of weird way of getting that news today and seeing it. And you're absolutely right. We're not going to see Fox News bash Trump. We're not going to see MSNBC really bash Biden. And we're seeing that already. We started seeing the major press kind of spinning it away. And I got to be honest, isn't the Paul Krugmans of the world and those they're all about inflation, right? They think it's a good thing to expand the economy through inflation, right? That's kind of their philosophy.
Historically, that's what he said. I don't know where he stands today. I haven't followed him in a long time.
Yeah.
I doubt he's changed much.
No, I would agree.
Hey, we're News Talk with Brandon and Bob. We're here to tell you about some of the facts so you don't have to waste your time watching CNN.
We don't want you wasting any time with CNN.
Or Fox or MSNBC or some of these other guys that are making a whole lot of money.
Et cetera, et cetera.
He's not paying.